Admitting that the holiday slowdown in Ontario's vaccine rollout was a mistake, Rick Hillier says things are ramping back up. Nearly 20 locations are now administering the Pfizer vaccine, and the province is expecting the arrival of a second shot as soon as tomorrow. Greg Ross has our top story tonight.
In hindsight, it was the wrong decision.
General Rick Hillier, the head of the province's COVID-19 vaccine task force, admitting today it was a mistake to pause vaccinations over Christmas. A stark contrast from what he said just a day earlier on CBC News.
And so we felt in the slightly longer term, it was better to take a little pause.
But mounting backlash from the health community clearly had an impact.
We heard loudly from people this past 36 to 48 hours. They want us rolling all the time, and we are. We will be working straight through. We will not take any more days off until we win this war against COVID-19.
I do very much appreciate the acknowledgement and the accountability that he took.
This ER physician, who was critical of the province yesterday, says today's tone was very much needed.
I think is important for him to be the leading member of this task force to admit when there's been mistakes.
As of this morning, the province reported just over 14,000 vaccinations in nearly 2 weeks since they started administering them, ranking Ontario last among all provinces for vaccinations per 100,000 people. But Hillier says there is reason for optimism.
We expect tomorrow to receive about 50,000 Moderna vaccines.
Hillier says the Moderna vaccine is more versatile because it doesn't have to be stored at temperatures below minus 70 degrees Celsius like the Pfizer vaccine being used now, which makes it much easier to bring directly to patients.
We will take it into those long-term care homes and into the retirement homes to look after those people who are resident there and somewhat held captive to the COVID-19 virus.
Hillier also floated another idea to speed up vaccinations.
I would ask Health Canada to relook the Moderna vaccine and see if we could make that a one-shot vaccine and give us that greater capacity to go out and vaccinate people even faster than we plan on doing it now.
Both Health Canada and Moderna Canada have responded to that, saying while the first dose of Moderna's vaccine could give about 80% immunity, it's uncertain how long that immunity would last, and they are still recommending 2 doses. With hundreds of thousands of doses of both Moderna and Pfizer scheduled to come to Ontario in January, Hillier says the province is still on track to meet its vaccination targets. But the slow start has many feeling a little less optimistic.
I absolutely will believe it when I see it. It's great to have the plans in place. We need the stuff in people's arms at the end of the day.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
So when will you be eligible for a COVID-19 shot? We have all the details on the 3 phases of the vaccine rollout in our province on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto, or you can download the CBC News app. Where in the world is Ontario's finance minister? That is the question many are asking tonight after it was made public that Rod Phillips is currently on a vacation outside of the country. His office won't tell us where the minister is, only confirming that he left on the trip traveling to somewhere outside of Canada on December 13th. For months, the provincial government has stressed the importance of limiting non-essential travel, and yet in today's statement, the cabinet minister defended the trip, saying it was pre-planned. Adding, had I been aware then of the eventual December 26th province-wide shutdown, we would have canceled the trip. I have continued my work daily as the Minister of Finance and MPP for Ajax. Phillips has been in charge of doling out provincial financial supports throughout this pandemic. And while on the trip, the finance minister's Twitter account posted multiple times. Some of those tweets included photos of him handing out presents inside local businesses. His office says those visits were prior to him leaving the country and posted by staff while he's been away. The opposition, though, is demanding consequences.
Extremely shocking and very disappointing that the Minister of Finance has chosen to be jet-setting across the tropics when Ontarians are making sacrifices. They're staying home. They've sacrificed time with their loved ones over the holidays. Some people didn't get to see their grandparents, which maybe this could have been a last Christmas for some of those folks.
The NDP also pointing out that on Christmas Eve, while on his personal international trip, the cabinet minister tweeted this: "We all make sacrifices this Christmas," it says.
On this Christmas Eve, I want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas.
Also on Christmas Eve, Phillips tweeted this at-home video greeting. Here's how some of Phillips' Ajax constituents are reacting to today's news.
Oh, I feel really bad. I mean, he should be embarrassed.
These people are telling people to lock down, but they themselves do not follow their own rules.
Well, isn't that nice? I hope he isolated for 14 days.
If I were in that situation, if it was not absolutely necessary, I wouldn't have gone.
He's doing what he's telling people not to do, and it's dangerous.
So it's not fair. I'm not passing judgment on people, but it's not fair.
It also came up at the Ontario COVID briefing today, and Ontario's Associate Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Barbara Yaffe, reminded people, despite the cabinet minister's trip, do not travel outside of the country unless you have to.
I would prefer that people don't take a vacation at this time unless it's an essential reason to travel, and that's the message we keep telling people.
And we're also just hearing from Phillips' office that the minister was also out of the country back in August and that he did quarantine for 14 days when he returned back then. His office says he will do the same when he returns this time as well, but did not say when he would be returning. We've also reached out to Premier Ford's office for his reaction to the finance minister's trip, but have yet to hear back. Now we want to also update the COVID-19 case count, and the province is reporting a record 2,553 new infections today, along with a record high rate of people testing positive for the virus. The province's Associate Chief Medical Officer of Health also talked about that. She explained what might be behind those numbers.